When I quit my job, I didn't spring out of bed the next morning looking for my next big opportunity. The first day of my new life, of the freedom from not having to log into my work computer and check all the unread emails that I needed to get to and look at my meeting invites in my calendar, I drove to the woods. I went for a long walk and I let a whole bunch of uncomfortable and pent up emotions come to the surface. Even though until this point I had thought long and hard about my decision to quit, and I knew it was the right thing for me, it still wasn't all rainbows and cupcakes. I still had some doubts in me about whether or not I had made the right decision. I was still worried about what people might think of my decision. I was worried what my parents would say. They still don't know, by the way, that I quit my job, so don't tell them, okay? And I was feeling this really weird discomfort with this new sensation of freedom that I hadn't had in so long. Like I felt like I was floating in the clouds and I had nothing to really anchor me. I was free for the first time in so long, I didn't know what to do with myself. I was so used to the routine of getting up in the morning, rushing out the door, sitting in traffic, rushing to the office, sitting in the office, looking at the clock, waiting to go home, rushing in traffic to go home, that when I was no longer a slave to that routine, I had no clue what I was supposed to do. I did know two things. The first thing I knew, and it might sound obvious, but I think we forget, is that there is so much more to life than work. There's so much else out there to experience. So I knew that there was something out there for me to discover. And the second thing I knew is that recovering from traumatic events like a toxic workplace or a bad relationship or anything like that takes time. And there's no shame in that. It's just the reality of how humans work. We all need time to recover from things. Some people might need more time, some people less time, but it's so important to take the time that is required for you. So basically, the first month of unemployment, I spent walking around outside. I was so starved for sunlight and fresh air that that's all I wanted to do. I also live in New Zealand, by the way, which is full of beautiful walks right outside your doorstep. And I had been so trapped in this corporate hell that I lost track of the fact that I lived in New Zealand. Like, in my opinion, the only reason to choose to live here is to be in nature and experience a bit of a slower paced lifestyle, right? But the way I was living, I may as well have been in the middle of New York City or something like that. Like, there was no point in living here with the way that I was working. So in that first month, I basically reacquainted myself with the beauty of New Zealand. At around month 2, I binged watched a bunch of TV shows that I never kind of got around to before, and I picked up some new hobbies and skills. I had been working away at these corporate jobs for so long and for so many years that I let aspects of myself kind of atrophy. For example, I used to play piano as a kid. I enjoyed it. I found it therapeutic. I got a sense of accomplishment from it. And it was only in my late 30s when I quit my job that I picked it up again. Why did I let that slip? I think that happens to many of us. If we spend most of our time working at a job that just drains us of energy and zest for living, we let all these other interests and things that used to bring us joy slip. I also picked up knitting and crocheting, just to see if I could, really. I can't say that I kept up with it, but it did open up doors for me that in the past were not only closed, but downright invisible. Like, it encouraged me to join knitting and crocheting clubs where I talked to the kinds of people that I never would have talked to before. And even though I stopped that particular hobby, I came away from it with a really good friend, which is incredible because making friends for me has been a huge struggle for most of my life, probably, but definitely over the last few years as well. So as the months went by, I started to incrementally heal. I started to sleep better. I started to put a little bit more effort into making our meals. I started reading and writing my own stories, which is another thing that I used to do in my youth, and then I just let it slip all these decades. It was only around month 6 of unemployment that I started to feel strong enough again to start thinking about my next career. So I've got a couple of projects on the go at the moment, and I really hope they work out because the last thing I want is to be forced back into the kinds of jobs that I used to do. We'll see. Keep your fingers crossed for me, please. I have heard of people getting back into the swing of things much earlier than 6 months, but there are plenty of people who take longer than that to recover. And if there's any singular piece of advice that I can give anybody who's thinking of throwing their career away, is to have a financial plan that allows you to take the time off that you need and that allows you to take the time that might be required to find another job when you are ready to do so. And finally, that incorporates the very real possibility that the next job you have won't pay the same as the one that you walked away from. None of those things are bad, but it's important to have a plan. The last thing you want to do is quit your job and then immediately be stressed out about finding another one. That's a bit more about what I've been doing these past few months. Let me know what kind of videos you'd like to see next. Thanks for spending time with me. I'll see you next time.